What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. A big thank you for coming back and joining me. Another video right here on YouTube. So today I'm going to be bringing you a video that is in association with Passion 4 FM. If you've not heard of Passion 4 FM before, they run a website and also have a channel right here on YouTube, and they bring you the very best resources, tips and tools to get the very best out of your FM23 experience. Now, the reason that the video is in association with Passion 4 FM is because I'm going to be bringing you 14 of the very best Wonderkids that you can go and sign for £0 upfront. Yes, £0 upfront. Yes, there will be add-ons, but you're going to get them for nothing up front, and you only will have to pay money in the future. And the reason that I know about these players is because of Passion 4 FM. They have provided me with a shortlist of Wonderkids that you can go and look at the start of the game, and it's all available on their website. You can also have a little look at that Wonderkid list in the description down below. But by all means, go to the website, download it, import it into your shortlists, and have a look through these Wonderkids. Now, if you're managing in England, you might want to look away. Most of these are not going to get work permits, and you might have trouble negotiating with a few of them. But if you're not managing in England and you need some cheap Wonderkids that you're not going to pay for up front, this is the place for you. Yes, I've got 14. We are going to go through some goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders and attackers. We have a little something for everybody. So let's jump into the video and kick off with a few goalkeepers that aren't going to cost you a penny in the here and now. Here we go then, we have fired up FM23, and before we show you this list of 14 Wonderkids that you can sign for nothing up front, I have to say, in Football Manager there is a range of ability, and all of the Wonderkids you're about to see have an ability range that can lead to them being a true Wonderkid or not developing at all. Sometimes when you fire a game up, the game will decide whether they are going to go into the top range of their abilities or they will just stay as they are and probably won't develop. We can't guarantee which way it will go. Obviously there are variables within the game, but they do all fall into the range of Wonderkids when you look at the raw data. So with that bearing in mind, we're going to kick off this list with a goalkeeper. He is a 16-year-old. He plays out in Nigeria for Water FC. Now, looking at him at the start of the game, he's 16 years old, 182 centimetres tall, 4 under-20 caps for the Nigerian under-20s. He starts off the game as a raw player who actually has some pretty decent stats. Now, looking at him, he's got reflexes of 14, kicking of 14, handling of 14, communication of 12, command of area, one-on-ones and passing are all 11. There is some work to do, which is natural for a 16-year-old, but if you can get them for nothing and put them into your youth system, develop them as you go and get them first team experience, this is a player that I think could develop into a first teamer in next to no time. Now, obviously, as I said, valued at 9 to 95,000, but we don't want to pay that. If we go transfer and make an offer, you can see we've already gone in and we've haggled them down from the 9,000 that they want to nothing. Yes, we are about to sign the first of the players, Nathanial Owusu, for absolutely nothing. Not even an add-on with Nathanial Owusu. Let's move on to the next one, and he's a goalkeeper from PSG. For the next player then, we have jumped over to France, and we are looking at PSG under-19s goalkeeper Lucas Lovallee. He's 19 years old, stands at 177 centimetres tall. He's valued at the start of the game at 24 to £240,000. Now, looking at him, he is a bit of a raw player. Even at the age of 19, some of his stats will need developing. Looking at his goalkeeping, handling and reflexes are the first two that stand out. He then has decent communication, kicking, one-on-ones and passing. Looking at the mentals, he has good determination of 16, which will put him in a good place to start developing quickly. 15 in terms of decisions, bravery of 14, aggression of 13. When you look at the physicals, he has some good stats there to start developing the rest of his game around. If we go to the transfer and make an offer option, you can see PSG want £24,000. We don't want to pay that though. We want to pay them nothing. So when we hit that, they come back with a nice offer of 210 grand up front and 190,000 in instalments. But again, we don't want to pay them the fee up front. We also don't want to pay them 190,000. So we're going to knock that down to 180,000. And when we hit submit, that is what they are going to take. So there is another player that we are not going to pay for up front, but you can buy in terms of instalments at 90,000 for 2 instalments, and we now have 2 goalkeepers that you can buy for nothing at the start of the game. Up next, we are moving forwards up the pitch and we are onto the defenders. We are headed to Spain and we are looking at Trilli, who plays for Deportivo La Coruña. He starts the game as a defender or wing back on the right and can also cover as a central defender. Looking at him, he's a 19-year-old who starts the game at 45 to 450,000 pounds and stands at 184 centimetres. Now looking at him, you can see he's a raw talent who is going to need developing. But in terms of being a wing back, he has some pretty decent stats. He has tackling of 11, passing of 11, marking of 12. Also in that category, the technicals, he has first touch of 11 and heading of 11. Moving across to the mentals, he has good anticipation, concentration and decisions. Positioning and teamwork could probably do with a little bit of fine tuning, but that's one for the future. And then looking at the physicals, he has some decent stats there. In terms of his pace of 12 to get up and down the pitch, that's fine. Acceleration of 11, agility of 14 and stamina of 13. So fine and sound as a wing back, can also be a centre back if you need him. So we're going to hit the transfer and once again make an offer. They want £44,500. We're going to offer them 0. They're going to come back with 475,000. So again, we're going to go to 0. We're also going to knock this down to £400,000. I'm going to suggest those terms. They're going to come back with a 50% percentage of next sale and arrange a friendly, and we're going to accept those demands, and that is fine. So we are going to sign Trilli for nothing up front and £400,000 in instalments across 2 6-monthly instalments. So that's another bargain player you're going to get to have at your team as a wonder kid early on in the game. Next up, we are staying in Spain, but this time we are popping over to Real Madrid and their under-19s, and this is Elyaz. He is a 16-year-old French defender who plays as a central defender or a wing-back left or defender left. He, as I said, is 16. He stands at 194 centimetres tall and starts the game valued at 210 to 600,000 pounds. Now, looking at him, he doesn't look like much, and obviously, as a centre back, there is a lot of work to be done. But he does have a good few key elements of his game that are there from the beginning. As a 16-year-old, he has 13 tackling and 14 heading. He has good aggression. Determination of 18 will hold him in good stead. He has good jumping reach. Strength really needs working on at 6, but as I said, he's a 16-year-old with a bright future who plays for Real Madrid. So how do we get him for nothing? Again, we're going to hit the transfer, make an offer. They want 210,000. We're going to go cheeky and go nothing. They're going to come back with a £205,000 instalment deal and 225 up front. We're going to go for nothing, and we're going to knock that down to the 200,000. I'm going to suggest those terms, and they come back with a few extras. They also want after league appearances 50 games for 40k. They want per league appearance 2k for the first 10 games, which is fine. You won't get into the first team straight away. They also want that 50% percentage of next sale. But again, we are going to be paying nothing up front to land a Real Madrid youth player, and that's another one you can add to the collection of 0 front players in FM23. Next up, we are popping over to Germany, and this is David Herold. He plays for FC Bayern's second team and plays as a defender left or centre or a wing back left. You can also see he can cover a few other positions on the pitch. Play further up the pitch on the left hand side. Can also be a makeshift right back and wing back, which is pretty good for a kid who is 19. He starts the game at 35,000 to 375,000 in terms of value. He's 185 centimetres tall. So looking at him as a player, you can see that it's highlighted him as his best position being a wing back on the left hand side. So if we concentrate on that, you can see that he has some pretty decent stats for a 19-year-old at the value that he is. Marking of 12, passing of 12, tackling of 12, technique of 11. He also has good crossing, dribbling and first touch. In terms of the mentals, anticipation could do with a bit of work, as could decisions, but off the ball is 11, positioning of 12, teamwork of 13, vision of 11, work rate of 12. In terms of the physicals, he has good acceleration and pace at 13 and 12, good agility and good stamina to hold him when he's running up and down the pitch. So he starts the game at 19 years old. He's at Bayern Munich. What do we want to do? We want to sign him. Let's go make an offer. They want £36,500. We don't want to pay that. We offer them nothing. They come back with 120,000. Again, we don't want to pay that. We also don't want to pay this £110,000. We're going to knock 10 grand off. It's not the best. You can probably negotiate some of these better than what I'm doing here. But for the purposes of the video, we're just trying to get them as best we can. And you can see Bayern Munich will take the deal with, again, nothing up front, 100,000 in instalments and 40% of the next sale. So that's another player you can add to the list of freebies at the start of the game where you're only paying instalments in the future. Next up, we have returned to Spain, and this time we are looking at Barcelona's B team. This is Diego Almeida. He starts the game as an 18-year-old Ecuadorian, stands 184 centimetres tall, and he has played one time for the Ecuador national team. He is a defender who plays in the centre, can also cover as a DMC, and you might be able to see there that he has played as a makeshift striker, although I'm not too sure why with 7 finishing. But looking at him, as I said, an 18-year-old centre-back then, breaking him down, he has good tackling, passing, heading and first touch. Technique is good at 11 too, and marking of 11. These are all stats that can be improved as he goes along. In terms of the mentals, he is a well-rounded mental player. Good aggression, good bravery, decisions, determination of 14, leadership, positioning, vision and work rate. Not the finished article, but again, these can be developed. And looking at the physicals, jumping reach of 13, but he has good pace at 12, acceleration of 11, agility and balance, they are all there. Now this one might seem a little bit ambitious. He's valued at the upper range at £700,000. He also has a 10 million or 10.25 million release clause in the contract. So obviously if we wanted to go and buy him and guarantee the purchase, you could pay 10.25 million up front. Instead though, what we're going to do is go and make that offer, and again 68 grand is what they want. We're going to press 0. They're going to come back and they're going to say they want 175,000 up front. We're going to knock that off, and we're also going to take 10 grand off of the instalments again. So we're going to pay 150,000 over 2 monthly instalments at 6 months. When we hit suggest terms, they are happy with a 40% percentage of the next sale to take that deal. So we have just signed a player with a £10 million release clause for nothing up front. It will cost £150,000 over the course of 6 monthly instalments, but again, you aren't having to pay anything up front. So if you're with a team that has a tight budget, or you need a player that you can just develop and put into the first team to bring through in future seasons, these are the types of players that you want, and this is another player to add to that list of players you can sign for nothing at the start of the game. Okay, that's defenders done and dusted then. We're going to push forwards up the pitch once again, and now we are into midfield territory. And we're going to start off back at Barcelona B with Aleix Garrido. He's an 18-year-old Spaniard who stands at 170 centimetres tall, and he's valued at 160,000 to £1.6 million at the start of the game. Now, he plays as a defensive midfielder and a midfielder in the centre, but can also play wide left and wide right, but probably need training into those roles. Looking at him as a player then, as a central midfielder, he has good technique at 15, passing of 14, first touch of 14. Some of the technicals though are going to need real development. Looking at the mental side of his game, he has good anticipation, composure, concentration, decisions of 12, determination of 14. He has good positioning, teamwork and vision. And then looking at those physicals, he has balance of 12, agility of 12, natural fitness of 14, stamina of 11. His pace and acceleration could do with a little bit of tweaking, but then again, you don't really need to be the fastest player on the pitch if you can kill teams with a 50-yard pass. So he's a player that we would be very interested in, and once again we are going to show you that we can sign him at the start of the game for nothing. He's valued at 160,000, but we don't want to pay that. We want to pay 0. They come back with £1.7 million up front and 1.6 in instalments, and again we don't want to pay that, so we're going to take it back down to 0, but he's going to cost £1.6 million overall with those 2 6-monthly instalments. When we hit suggest terms, they're going to come back with a few more things. So after league appearances, per league appearance, and after international appearances, because they're that confident he's going to be a good enough player. And obviously then we could just go ahead and hit accept terms, and we're going to go and add Aleix Garrido to the list of players that you can sign for nothing up front. But obviously with those add-ons will be a great addition to your team, and one you can certainly develop for the future. For the next player, we are taking a little trip to Italy and to Empoli under-20s for a Polish midfielder who is called Iwo Kaczmarski. Looking at him, as I said, starts off as an 18-year-old, stands at 183 centimetres tall, plays primarily as a central midfielder, but can also play as a defensive midfielder and an attacking midfielder, so a bit of versatility in his game. Starts off with some really good stats for a central midfielder. He has good tackling, he has good marking, first touch, long throws and passing are the standouts in terms of the technicals. In terms of the mentals, he has determination of 17, work rate of 13, teamwork of 12, positioning of 11, bravery 14, aggression 14, and anticipation of 12. In terms of the physicals, he could probably do with a little bit of bulking up, strength of 9, stamina of 9, pace of 9, but he has good jumping reach of 12 and natural fitness of 13. He should slot in as a decent option who you can develop early on in the game. And once again, we're going to go to Empoli and make them an offer straight away. They want £600,000 for the player. We don't want to pay that. They're going to come back with £600,000 up front and 550 in add-ons. And once again, we're going to take them down to 0. And when we suggest the terms, they're going to take that. They don't want any money up front. They're willing to wait in 2 6-monthly instalments for £550,000. And I think this player could turn into a bit of a bargain. And that's another midfielder to add to the list of players you won't need to pay a penny for up front in the game. For the next player then, we are back in Spain and we are back at Barcelona B team. Now obviously Barcelona are a good feeder team, and that is why we keep returning to raid some of their high-end talents. This is Alarcon, and he plays as an attacking midfielder right or left, a midfielder right or left, and can even be a striker. Can play as an attacking midfielder through the centre as well. He's 18 years old, stands at 175 centimetres tall. He's valued between 20 and £210,000. Now the game is set up to say that his best position is an attacking midfielder on the right or a winger on the right on attack. And for those stats, it's highlighting crossing of 11, dribbling of 13, first touch of 12, passing of 11, and technique of 14. He has good flair with 16, determination of 14, anticipation is only 7, so there are as many stats that need developing as stats that start off in a good position. Physicals, acceleration is good, pace is good, natural fitness is good, agility and balance are good too. Needs to bulk up a little bit in terms of his strength and his stamina, but those are things that you can add to his game further down the line. So once again, we are going to go and do the trick. Let's see what Barca want. They want 20,500 up front. We don't want to pay that. We want to pay them nothing. They come back with 170,000 up front and 155 in instalments. Once again, back to 0. And we're going to take that extra 5,000 off there. We're going to suggest terms on that deal. And Barcelona are going to take a deal with nothing up front, £150,000 in instalments, and a percentage of next sale of 40%. So that's another one to add to the list. The final midfielder then, we are off to Sweden to look at a Swedish 16-year-old midfielder who plays for IF Bramo under 19s. He can play as an attacking midfielder, a defensive midfielder, or just a plain old midfielder. As I said, 16 years old, he stands at 186 centimetres tall, and he's valued at 26 to £250,000. As I said, he has good versatility to his game, being able to play all through the middle of the park. It's set up to say that his best position is a central midfielder. So looking at those stats, he has good dribbling of 11, first touch of 13, passing of 13, technique of 14. In terms of the mentals, he has good anticipation, decisions, determination of 17, flair of 12, teamwork of 11, vision of 11. And then in terms of the physicals, you've got agility, acceleration, jumping reach, natural fitness and pace. Looking at him as a 16-year-old, he's just a raw ball of talent who needs to be moulded, and that is exactly what you can do by taking him to your club and start him off in the process of developing him as a player. Now once again, we're going to go off and we're going to try and buy him for nothing, so take out the 26,000, give them nothing as an offer. They're going to come back with £235,000 up front and £240,000 in instalments. They also want 40% of that next sale and to arrange a friendly. We're just going to hit 0 and we're going to offer that out as a deal, and they're going to take it. So nothing up front as per usual. £240,000 to be paid in instalments 6 monthly. Now obviously the instalments can be changed. I will probably try and do that in the next one. You can spread that over further. You could put it over 12 monthly instalments instead of 6 monthly, and you can have 3 instead of 2. You can structure these deals however you want. As I said earlier on in the video, you can negotiate these probably better than I can. I'm just trying to give you the example that you can actually get these players for nothing up front at the start of the game. So that's the midfielders wrapped up. Let's move on to the forwards. Kicking us off then in the attackers department is a little trip to Italy to go and see Roma under-20s player Luigi Cherubini. Now, he's an 18-year-old who can play as an attacking midfielder left, attacking midfielder right or centre, can play as a striker too. You also can see he can play as a midfielder left and a midfielder right, but you'll probably need to develop that. As I said, 18 years old at the start of the game, 173 centimetres tall, and the game highlights him as a left winger. So looking at those stats, crossing could do with a bit of improving, dribbling of 14, first touch of 13, passing of 11, technique of 13, long shots could do with a bit of improving too, but obviously an 18-year-old who you can bring in and start to develop as a player is always a good thing. Looking at the mentals, he has good flair, good vision and aggression. The rest of it is going to need developing and something that you're going to need to work on. Looking at the physical side of his game, 14 acceleration, 12 pace, 14 agility, and again strength and stamina are things you are going to need to work on with him. Looking at his career path though, he has played for Lazio and played for Roma, which is probably a bit of a rarity. If we go and look at the transfer then and try and get it done, we're going to make an offer. They want £42,500. Going to offer them nothing. When they come back with their offer, it's £130,000 up front, 115 in terms of instalments. We're going to go back to 0. We're going to hit suggest terms and they're going to take that. So that is the first striker or forward in the bag. Let's see who is next up on this list. Next up on the list is a 16-year-old Romanian called Enes Sali, who plays for Herold Constanta under-19s. He is an attacking midfielder left or attacking midfielder right, can also play through the centre and can also double up as a makeshift striker. As I said, a 16-year-old who is valued at £120 to £1.2 million. His height is 164 centimetres, so quite a short player, nimble and quick. Has made his debut for the Romanian national team and has made 1 appearance. Looking at him as a player, dribbling of 11, first touch of 11, passing of 11 and technique of 11. Determination and flair and off the ball are the standouts in terms of the mentals. In terms of the physical side of the game, they've started to develop quite well. Acceleration of 13, pace of 13, agility of 15 and balance of 13. Now, you probably can't see it, but underneath me, it does say his career path. If we have a little look in terms of his career stats, he did pass through the Barcelona Academy, came from Woodbridge Strikers in Canada, ended up at Barcelona for a little bit, and now has ended up at Herold Constanta in Romania. So there is a lot of ability there, and there is a lot of potential for you to develop him further. If we go and try and get the deal done, make an offer, they want £120,000 up front, we're going to offer them 0. They come back then with £750,000 in terms of an upfront fee. Of course, we're never going to pay that. We want to pay 0. So we're going to go back and hit that. They are willing to take nothing up front, £675,000 in the instalment deals and 40% of the next sale. So that's another player that we have been able to get in. Another wonder kid at the age of 16 who we're going to be able to develop and move into the first team eventually down the line. Let's go on. Let's continue the list. We are nearly there. There are 2 more to show you. Where are we going next? Okay, up next we are off to Bologna, and we are looking at a Bologna under-20s player called Antonio Raimondo. He is an 18-year-old who is 185 centimetres tall. He's valued at £110,000 to £1.1 million at the start of the game, and he is a left-footed, fairly ambitious striker. Looking at him then, in terms of his stats, you've got dribbling of 12, finishing of 13, first touch of 11, passing of 11, technique of 12 and heading of 11. In terms of the mentals, good anticipation, he has concentration, determination, vision and work rate. In terms of the physicals, he has acceleration, agility and balance all of 12, natural fitness of 12, pace of 13, strength of 11. So that's him as a player. He looks like he could be a pretty decent striker from the get-go. Can we get him for £0? That is the question. 115,000 they want. We're going to offer 0. They're going to come back with 375,000 and 325,000. So let's whack that back down to 0 and see if we can get him. And sure enough, they're going to accept the deal for us to pay nothing up front, £325,000 in 6 monthly instalments, and we have got another player that is added to the list of players that we are signing for nothing up front in FM23. Okay then, for the final player, the 14th player on this list we are going to try and sign for nothing up front is Manuel Pisano. Yes, we are back in Italy, back at Bayern Munich's academy for the under-19s. And we are looking at a 16-year-old Italian who stands at 187 centimetres tall. This is a player that used to play for Juventus and has now transferred to Bayern Munich. So as I said, he is a striker. He is another left-footed striker. And when we break him down, he has dribbling of 11, finishing of 12, heading of 12, penalty taking of 11. In terms of the mentals, aggression, determination, off the ball and vision are the standouts. Everything else is probably going to need a little bit of work, but for a 16-year-old, that is going to come anyway. Acceleration of 11, pace of 12, strength of 11, natural fitness of 12, jumping reach of 13 and balance of 12. His media description is that of a promising striker, and that is how we generally know he's going to be somewhere around a wonderkid status. So that's another player to add to the list, but can we get him in the bag? Let's make an offer. They want £325,000 up front. We don't want to pay that. We're going to suggest terms. They come back with £2.1 million and £2 million in instalments. Now this one is ambitious, but we're going to hit 0 and see what happens. They are going to come back with a package that includes instalments of 6 monthly, 2 of those for £1 million each. After 50 league appearances, they want another 400,000, and after he gets 10 league goals, they want another 400,000. Those are pretty steep, but I think we can probably negotiate those down just a little bit. Maybe even this coming down to 1.8. If we hit suggest terms, they're going to accept that. And that is 14 players that we are going to be able to sign for nothing up front. So if you have a team with a short budget, or you don't want to spend money in the there and then, this is a perfect way to go out and get 14 wonderkids that you can develop for the future in FM23. There you have it then. We have been around the world and we have seen 14 wonderkids that we have managed to get on a deal for £0 up front. As I just said, if you manage in a team that has a short budget, or you can't really go out and afford to get those big household name wonderkids, these are 14 wonderkids that you can go out and pinch and develop exactly as you want at your club. And if they don't work out, you can try and sell them on as a profit, because obviously you're only paying whatever you pay in the installment deals. Right then, if you are still here and you are still listening to me, firstly, a big thank you. Secondly, if you don't mind hitting the like and subscribe on this channel, which is my own channel, and then head over to Passion 4 FM and do the same there. Check out my channel for other things in terms of tactics, wonderkids, tutorials. Check out Passion 4 FM for all of your other football manager resources. For this one though, I'm going to wrap it up there. Big thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed those 14 wonderkids that you can steal at the start of the game.